Hey guys, I am back for a short video about why mental health matters regarding chronic illness. I have Ehlers Danlos. For those of you who are new, I'm Kristen. I'm glad you're here. I've recently had a subscriber and comment that they were concerned, was I okay? I hadn't posted in a little while, and that caused me to realize I hadn't posted in a little while, where I really knew it, but it hadn't really dawned on me because I've been going through a few things. And that made me do kind of a quick check in myself, like, am I okay? What's going on with me? And I know I've been kind of preparing myself for summer because it's very hot where I live during the summer, and that can be challenging for my body. And so I've been kind of like dealing with some of those things, and it's been affecting kind of the things that I like to do. It's kept me from doing some of the stuff that keeps me encouraged and some of the stuff that adds to my joy. So I wanted to kind of talk to you about that and check in with you guys. So why does our mental health matter when it comes to our health care? So having Ehlers-Danlos syndrome means that I have a few other things that have gone awry because it is a genetic illness. Without further rambling from me, let's just jump right into it. A couple of things that have been challenging me is because there are some new things coming up, and I have had quite a few labs and tests and stuff, and I'm waiting for results. There is an anxiety in that, such as anxiety of, what are they going to find? Do I want them to find something? Do I want everything to come back clear? What I want is, if it's okay, I want it to show okay. If it's not okay, I want it to show not okay, but I actually want it to be okay. But because I have these symptoms and I have this other stuff going on, the reality is something is wrong, and I don't want to have to go through loads and loads of testing and to figure it all out. That leaves me with some anxiety regarding all of it, like everything. That's challenging. I'm also dealing with, insurance stuff, and that of course is really challenging because insurance is not always so helpful. And then in some areas it's extra helpful. So I'm grateful for those areas, and it can become like a part-time job, a second job, to just try to manage all of that. So procedural anxiety, that's a real thing. So what do? We do the things we've talked about, right? Self-care, being proactive in fighting against developing depression or dealing with increasing depression, do things that reduce anxiety. I've had quite a lot of chamomile tea lately. Yeah, say new normals are causing some depression and anxiety. That, in a sense, will snowball and create some other issues physically, because if you're anxious, you avoid. If you're depressed, you minimize your behavior. You don't join in, you avoid as well. So both depression and anxiety create avoidance, which then can actually increase symptoms, right? If I'm depressed, I don't move around as much, which then creates more pain. If I'm in pain, I don't move around as much, which then creates more pain. So the reality there is that it perpetuates symptoms and can actually make me less healthy than what I could be, my capability. The fact is that people with chronic conditions are at a higher risk for depression and anxiety. That depression and anxiety can get worse over time and will reduce the amount of activity that we are able to do because we're not participating. And that's the last thing that we need, right? We need more activity. If we're capable, we need to take opportunities when we do feel good to join in. But that also takes other people being available and out there. So it does require a community. We need people, and we need people to need us as well, but in a flexible way. I know that sounds like we want our cake and we want to eat it too, but the reality is that there are people who can love us enough to both be available and flexible in giving and receiving from us. They're out there. It may take time, but that relationship is valuable enough that it's worth kissing all the frogs? I don't know what you want to call it. It can be challenging. I'm not going to minimize, because many of you, myself included, have had some very hard relationships, and they can make us shy away from new relationships. But the reality is that when you find that person, or people who have been worth the wait for the challenges, they're worth it. Something else I want to talk about that I haven't really dealt with myself, but it's a reality I see in my office, is substance misuse. So how hard it is to deal with physical health issues is how potentially provoking it is to misuse something that we do have available to us that can numb us out or make everything feel less. And feeling less of the pain and the hard stuff can be appealing for some people. So if that's the case, be sure to reach out to somebody and let somebody know what's going on so that they can be your support. And, you know, self-care, right? That's easy to say, it's hard to do. So we have to do it and practice it daily so that it becomes a second nature. And I know you guys are probably like, oh my goodness, if she says self-care one more time, but the reality is that we don't do it enough. I have not met anyone who is like, this is my self-care sacred time every day and nothing's going to impede on it. Usually it's like, this is my self-care time. Oh yeah, if I get to it, great. If I don't, well, other stuff got done. And the reality is that self-care is just as important as going to work. No, it doesn't feed you and put food on the table with a paycheck, but it helps you be able to earn that paycheck. Without self-care, you burn out, especially with a chronic condition, right? So yes, I stress it a lot and I push it a lot because it is so imperative for our existence, especially with chronic conditions. I wish that I had learned about its value years and years ago rather than when I did, but I'm grateful for it now. I would love to hear from you guys about what you're doing to help yourself stay encouraged. It can be really discouraging being in a position where you're dealing with medical care, medical teams, daily med therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy. Then you have to deal with making your own food and eating it. By the time you make it, you're probably exhausted, and then you have to eat it, which you don't feel very hungry, but if you don't eat it, you don't have fuel to go through your day. And then dealing with sleep issues, which then impedes your progress for the next day. Dealing with insurance companies, because doctors' offices don't always follow through. Insurance companies need this, doctor's office send them somewhere, and they go into the abyss, and then it's up to the patient to search it out and figure it out. And that's hard, right? We were not trained to deal with this type of issues, and juggling our own stuff and then juggling other stuff that isn't necessarily our job, but it is part of our duty to advocate for ourselves. So in all of that chaos, we also deal with relationships and responsibilities. It's a lot. So to stay encouraged, one of the recent things that I did was I joined this, a few months ago, I joined this Chronic Warrior Collective, which is a card swap. And it seems like when they come in the mail, you write a card to a stranger and you get a different person each month, and then you get a card from a different person each month in the mail. And the only investment you have in it is whatever supplies you make your card with and the stamp, and then you mail it off. You get it on the 1st, you mail it by the 10th, and then your card comes in there at some point. So anyway, it has been such an encouraging thing for me to be able to get connection from somebody else who knows what I'm going through or understands the reality of chronic conditions. And it has been a majorly encouraging thing. So that is one thing I have done. I've also been looking into various subscription boxes, and not everyone can do those because they're expensive, but I have been looking for those that are inexpensive to be able to do. I explore new hobbies, things that I can do sedentary or activity, and that's helpful. So those are some activities and some things that I have chosen to do to keep myself encouraged. Does it always keep my moods lifted? No. There are times that I cry into my pillow and I am so frustrated that I can't form sentences. It just comes out in riddles, but I have somebody to listen to me. I go to a friend who I trust that isn't going to judge what's coming out of me and listens and then offers feedback. If I don't need help with something, I just need that person to listen. That's what I communicate to them, because hey, sometimes I just need somebody to listen, right? Some other things that I like are I have a really, really comfortable pillow that I love to lay on, and it's just the little things that are comforting. I read a lot, you guys know that, see books, and those of course create an escape for me outside of work and the reality of the responsibilities for taking care of myself. And a book can go with me anywhere. Please let me know what you do that keeps you encouraged, because encouragement can run low at times. Another thing, I come here or Instagram if you want to connect further, but those things are encouraging. And you know what? A good cup of coffee or a hot cup of tea is never a wrong choice. All right, that's all I have time for, and I just wanted to connect to you guys and talk about discouragement and encouragement and why mental health matters in a quick and snappy video. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and that you're not getting too hot outside, and that you're finding opportunities to increase your joy. See you next time. Bye-bye.